Hey folks, welcome to Gang Grit Sports. We're here live at Mike's Court. We're doing something very exciting today, Eddie. Never tried this before, never tried a live podcast before, but what we're doing here tonight is we are celebrating the tip-off of the 25-26 NCAA men's basketball tournament. And this is a little segment that we like to call Eddie and George Present the Memory Yard, where legends never die. So if you think about it a little bit with the title, the title of the show, what we're going to do is we're going to celebrate the tip-off of the coming basketball season, which starts on Monday. We're going to celebrate that by looking back on our favorite programs from the past that also had a lot of grit. So we're going to go with Eddie first. Eddie's going to lead us off here. So what's one of your favorite programs, Eddie?
Well, when I first started following college basketball, my dad was a big UCLA fan.
Oh.
Yeah. And that was in like 1970.
Okay.
And Lou Alcindor played. They were awesome. They won the national championship like 7 years in a row.
They did. Yep.
And they had Sidney Wicks and Curtis Rowe, Henry Bibby. And,
I love to hear those
Steve
names.
Patterson, John Valley. They were loaded. Absolutely. John Wooden was the coach. So I followed them, and they had a big rivalry with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And some of the other, like Louisville and North Carolina. But that's when I really got involved in watching college basketball.
So, and you probably, I'm sure, kept with it through the Walton years, and then Richard Washington.
Absolutely.
I mean, they won 10 titles altogether, 7 in a row. I think they won 2 in the like 64, 65, something like that, and then they went on the 7-year run. And then they had 1 year they missed, and then Richard Washington came back in and got another one.
Yeah, that whole group with Bill Walton and Washington, and they had Dave Myers, and they were loaded for years.
Just some of those names you're bringing up are names I didn't even think of, man.
Absolutely.
You know, what about that rivalry with Houston that they had?
The Big E.
The Big E, Elvin Hayes.
Hayes.
You know, I actually, we got some notes. So, 47-game winning streak Houston blew up. They called it the game of the century. It was from the Houston Astrodome.
Right.
And Hayes just had an outstanding game. So did Lou Alcindor.
Yeah.
You know, but finals, they beat him 71-69. But then later on, both teams made the Final Four, and in the semis of the Final Four, they had the rematch, and UCLA got their revenge, and then went on to beat North Carolina for the title that year. But that was actually '68. That was you were still a little young. I was 4.
I was 9.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, and I know. See, this is why I love doing this with Eddie, because he's a sports historian like I am. We both love the history of sports. And, so even though I wasn't old enough to watch the Houston-UCLA rivalry, I did a lot of reading whenever I was younger.
Right.
You remember them books they would send home, the Weekly Reader, and you could order those books?
Yep.
Every time they had a sports book in there, I would get it,
Me too, of course.
They were fantastic. And they had lots of sports ones in there.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is I'm going to go, well, he did bring up Notre Dame, and I just wanted to mention a few names. Of course, Digger Phelps had a great run as head coach there. They had John Shoemate, Adrian Dantley, AD. My favorite Notre Dame player of all time is Kelly Tripucka.
He graduated with me.
Oh, yeah?
Same year.
Okay.
77.
Well, so my connection to him is that my dad was managing a Burger King in New Jersey where Kelly Tripucka used to come in all the time. And he would dribble the ball, and the assistant manager would go give him heck, and my dad would say, "Now you let this guy dribble this ball." I'm not saying that he helped him get where he was, but it's kind of an interesting connection.
Hey, they also had, Notre Dame had Dwight Clay, who's from Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He taught in high school.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Gary Brokaw.
it's amazing the amount of people that came out of Pittsburgh. The other day I was just talking about Connie Hawkins. With somebody. He went and played with the ABA with the Pittsburgh Pipers and such.
Maurice Lucas.
Oh my God. So many great Pittsburgh players.
Billy Knight. and then it goes on and on.
So back to the college stuff, though. You know, I'm going to talk about Louisville. There's so many teams we can talk about. I mean, Bob Knight's Hoosiers, Jerry Tarkanian with the Running Rebs, the Fab Five in Michigan. But Louisville, starting in about 8th or 9th grade when we were at Keith Junior High, the guys who played basketball up there, for some reason we all started loving Louisville. We were just so into Louisville. And then Darryl Griffith came in. They called him Dr. Duncanstein. And then by the time they got to 1980, which I was still in high school then, he had been joined by some other players. Like, I don't think the what the heck's their name?
McRae brothers?
The McRae brothers. I don't think they were there yet. Oh, no, they didn't win a national championship then. They won it, well, that was 86. His senior year, Griffith's senior year, which would have been, I didn't write it down, so forgive me on that, but his senior year, they won the national championship. And then later on down the road, of course, they had a lot of great players come in, the McRae brothers, Wiley Brown, Lancaster Gordon, and then eventually Purvis Ellison, who took him to another title in 86. But interesting thing with Louisville is, you know, as much as we love Louisville, I just happened to be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for the round of 32. I was with a buddy of mine. We were walking past the Mecca, and we were going to get on a bus to leave town, right? Some guy comes up to us and said his wife was sick, and he had courtside seats he was selling for face value. Now, this is back in the time when people didn't counterfeit all this stuff, right?
Right.
So I was just like, well, how much do you want? And he was just like, face value. So we give it to him. We go in. We end up with courtside seats right under the hoop. I'm telling you, it was disgusting. Their sweat was hitting us, you know, while they were playing. But Louisville played Tulsa, beat them by 2 points, and that was so much fun because they had Milt Wagner then, and Lancaster Gordon was still with the team. So that was really great. But what was also cool was Illinois was playing Villanova. And 84 was the year that Georgetown won the national championship. The next year was the year that Villanova won the national championship. So I watched them lose in the tournament the year before they won the championship. It was pretty cool. Ed Pinkney and all those guys. So, and that kind of leads us into a little side note here. We're going to talk about the Big East. So, and we're just going to kind of have a conversation about this, you know. So, you know, there's so many. The Big East started in 1979. They were a power conference almost immediately. And then in 1982, Sleepy Floyd, I think, was a senior that year, but that was Patrick Ewing's freshman year. And they went to the Final Four. They didn't win, but they went to the Final Four that year. So that was the beginning of the Georgetown kind of dominance, you know. And then you know, then it just kind of went on from there. But what are some of the great teams you remember from that heyday of the Big East Conference?
Pitt. You know, we were a big Pitt fan.
Yeah.
Charles Smith, Jerome Lane.
Jerome Pooh Lane, right? Didn't they call him Pooh or something like that?
Yeah.
Broke the backboard, right? He's forever remembered for breaking that backboard.
Yeah,
Just for a year.
Yeah.
And,
Just for a year.
Yeah, they were a powerhouse for years. And but then all the St. John's and with Lou Fonseca
Chris Mullen.
and Chris Mullen.
Yep.
And you know, Villanova, of course.
Wally Massimino.
Doug West.
Oh yeah, Doug West ended up going. Wally Massimino was the coach. A lot of Italian coaches back in those days. I don't know if that was a thing.
Absolutely.
Maybe somebody had an inside info. I don't know. But anyways, we had Raleigh, we had Louis Carnesecca, Jim Boeheim up in Syracuse. They had Pearl Washington. Mike was going to try to join us, but he didn't make it over here for this part. Mike was talking about earlier today about how one of his best memories of the Big East was Pearl Washington hitting that half-court buzzer beater, running off the court and going straight to the phone and calling his mom. Like, you know, now some people might look at that and say that's not very gritty, but in my opinion, I think that's a gritty thing to do, man. Oh, here he comes. I just told your story, man. We missed you.
Would you tell the story?
Pearl Washington. This is the man, the myth, the legend. This is Mike Luciano from Mike's Court.
Hello, everybody.
He's hosting us tonight.
Everybody's having a wonderful day, and another sports day here in Blair County.
That's it. And you know, the thing is, under Mike's sign, it says great food, not much parking. I think that he should add one more thing. Altoona home for old school sports. Because every time I come in here, I run into somebody who I sit and have a conversation with, and what do we talk about? The glory days, the old days. Now we'll talk about the new stuff too, but the conversations always get into the old days. We're getting old.
There's one thing I'd like to say in a little humble approach. Eddie's claim to fame is Dave McGinnis' brother. You know, Dave McGinnis was the one who got the rebound to pass to Corey Garrett and made that wonderful shot against
There you go.
Clipper in 1981.
Right,
1981, Corey Garrett made the shot, but we all know, we all tell Corey, Dave gets a lot of credit. Dave should get a lot more credit.
That's what the local guys getting some rep from Mike
Corey's
Luciano.
watching Corey. We just want to hang you down.
And Val Mignon was on the bench watching.
Yeah.
Throw it out. Thanks, Mike.
I'll be back.
Appreciate it, buddy. Well, you know, with Mike walking away here, that brings me to something. I'm going to go to my notes here because I want to make sure that I say this right. One thing that we do need to point out is that this is not a paid promotion. Mike's not paying us to be here. We're not paying Mike to be here. Everybody who's working the cameras are working free except for some food. You know, Mike's just kind enough to host us and allow us to come here and kind of live out a dream, man. Like sitting and talking about sports when everybody else can hear, you know?
Yep.
So pretty cool. We got little brother T over there on a cam. We got my good friend Jackie on a cam. So we got a lot of good stuff going on here, but just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. You know, no paid promotions going on here. Got to make that official for YouTube, right? All right, YouTube. So before we go back to Eddie, though, I'm going to talk about something that some people are going to find controversial as far as the college basketball goes. And that is one of my favorite players, one of the most grittiest players I ever saw play in college football, or college basketball, was Christian Laettner at Duke. You know, a lot of people didn't like him. And you can't argue, I mean, we can't deny the foot stomp on the chest, right? I mean, that's one of the most famous highlights. It's almost as famous as the turnaround jumper. But yeah, okay, he had his moments. But the guy was a gritty player. He was there to win. You know, all 4 years that Christian Laettner was at Duke, they went to the Final Four. Now, can't forget Bobby Hurley because he was on that team as well, all 4 years.
Yeah.
And then Grant Hill came in, I think I can't remember if he was 1 year or 2 years after them, but he made the pass for the turnaround jumper that beat Kentucky and sent them to the championship game, and they won in 90 and 91. And Christian Laettner was actually Player of the Year in 91 and 92. Well, that's what happens. So, and Christian Laettner was named National Player of the Year in 1992. So, pretty cool stuff there. You know, he's a guy who I actually still follow him on X.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think he's a cool guy.
I was always a Christian Laettner fan.
Yeah,
and
good
him
guy.
and Bobby Hurley complimented each other as well.
They were great teammates. They were something else. I don't think either one of them would have reached the heights that they did without each other.
One,
And then bring in Grant Hill, and he elevated the whole thing. And of course, Coach K, you can't forget him, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I even go back with Duke all the way back to whenever Goose Givens. For Kentucky, I think he dropped 42 on them in the championship game. And that was Jimmy Spinarco, Mike Jaminski, and Gene Banks from West Philly.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Philly.
That was, I love that team because of Gene Banks. We all love Gene Banks. But anyways.
West Philly, I think they were #1 in the country.
They were when Gene played. For sure.
Stillman
For sure.
And Darryl Warwick.
That's a lot of great basketball coming out of that. You know, one thing we're not even talking about. I don't have any notes on it. I know you didn't prepare anything, but I think it was called the Palestra or something in Philly. It was like a venue, and they would have my father-in-law, my first father-in-law. He just loved talking about that because there were 5 major college basketball programs in Philadelphia, and they all played each other there.
Oh, wow.
And it was just, you know, year after year after year, and it was something, you know, they were from the eastern half of the state, so it was something they were just really into. But that kind of, you know, that leads us back to something that I consider to be a very special thing that Eddie's going to wrap up for us here. But Eddie has a very special connection that I don't have because of being just a few years older than me. But Eddie's going to tell us a little bit about local college, St. Francis.
St. Francis.
That has had a great basketball program for years and years, but way back in the day had quite a few pros.
Absolutely, and it started with Maurice Stokes.
Yeah.
He played and
Before either of our time.
Right.
Just so everybody knows, he's not that old. He didn't see Maurice Stokes play, but go on.
I heard about it.
Yeah.
But they had Maurice Stokes and they had Jack Twyman.
Oh, gosh,
Okay.
yeah.
And they had, if you know the Muffy brothers, Ron and Tom, their
Yeah.
dad.
Oh,
Ron,
okay.
played with
Oh,
Maurice
yeah,
Stokes.
yeah. Okay. I didn't know that.
And then after that year, you had Norm Van Leer,
Right.
who played in the pros for many years.
Yep.
And Kevin Porter.
Yep.
And then we had a lot of local players
Right.
here. That
Well,
played
Louis
there.
Schmidt played up
Louis
there.
Schmidt, Nick Leisure from Tyrone.
Oh, yeah. Nick. Yep.
Mike Isolina.
Mike Isolina, who also played in the NBA, played professionally over in Italy for many years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we had, quite a few from this area play for St. Francis.
I have a few notes. Well, of course, let's kind of tell the Maurice Stokes story.
Rick Hawkins, we can't forget about Rick Hawkins.
Oh, can't forget Hawk.
Yeah.
But Maurice Stokes, interesting story. Some people know it, but maybe it's more local legend around here that we all know about it. But Maurice Stokes, of course, probably the greatest player to ever play at St. Francis. Played there from 51 to 55. He was an All-American in 55 from a small school. Took them to the NIT, where he won the MVP of the NIT tournament, despite the fact that St. Francis came in 4th place. That's a dominating performance. Then he went, I think it was the, what were the Royals called back then? Was it Cincinnati? So he got drafted by the Cincinnati Royals, played like 3 years, and then he had a traumatic brain injury that eventually took his life. And it's interesting, it's funny because I knew that Jack Twyman was his teammate in the pros, and then he's the one who was his guardian until he passed in 1970. But I didn't know that Twyman played with him at St. Francis as well. So see, that's why we have Eddie here, because Eddie teaches me things. Okay, so look that up. Just a little. Norm Van Leer was there from 66 to 69, listed in Wikipedia as a fierce defender when he was in college. Played 11 seasons in the NBA and made the All-Defensive team many years. Kevin Porter, on the other hand, now they crossed over. They played together for a couple of years. But he was there from 68 to 72. He also had 11 years in the NBA, and he led the NBA in assists 4 times. So pretty cool stuff, man.
And I think Norm Van Leer went to Midland High School. I think. I'm not
He was from East. I don't know where he went to high school. He was born in East Liverpool, Ohio.
Okay.
And Porter was born in Chicago. Maurice Stokes was a Westinghouse guy from Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Did you know that? Yeah, so that's what I said. In researching all this, the amount of guys that I saw who went to high school in Pittsburgh just blew my mind. I knew there were a lot of great players that came out of Pittsburgh, but that just kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that kind of wraps it up for us here. Got a little couple things to say. This is what happens with live broadcasts. That's our X feed there. Hopefully, people on X are seeing it. I want to say this. And I'm nice and loud. All these people are here. I hope I'm not bothering y'all, but we love you. We appreciate all the patrons here at Mike's Court for putting up with us. The employees as well. A big thanks to Mike Luciano. We call him the legend. That's just what we call him. Greatest point guard in the history of Bishop Guilfoyle, in my opinion.
Without a doubt.
Also, of course, want to thank my big bro Eddie for being here. Got to thank T and Jackie for manning the cameras for us. Such important stuff. Coming soon though. Please be on the watch. Monday, going to be back with a full podcast. Of course, I don't do that live. I have takes, so if I goof up, I can start all over again. But Monday, I'm going to be putting out another full podcast. Hopefully, keeping it right around the same time we did last time. I thought 10, 12 minutes was pretty good. Going to have those mini casts in the middle of the week if we can. Day job comes first, so I have to worry about that. And anybody who's watching and anybody who's in here tonight, we are on Facebook. Gang Grit Sports on Facebook. And if you're on X, even if you don't access your account very often, at Gang Grit Sports on X. A lot of you know that is Twitter. It's X now. Please follow us there. Like, share, follow. That helps spread the word. Eddie and I are planning on doing this again as long as Mike is happy with us. We're going to be doing the Memory Yard where legends never die as many times as we possibly can. We're going to have different subjects in the future. We already talked about maybe discussing like the great running backs of the 70s, but I have a subject for us for next month.
All right.
Our favorite Thanksgiving Day NFL games. That's what we're going to talk about sometime in November. We're not sure which Saturday it's going to be, but we're going to be right back here at Mike's Court, live streaming on X and Facebook. We love you. We hope you come back. Thanks so much.
Thank you.